Hey everyone, it's Mark from the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. We come to you live on Twitch and on YouTube every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Share that podcast on all your favorite podcast apps. The Crystal Chronicles are tccpodcast.com, tccpodcast.com for all the links to our social media and to listen to any of the podcasts in their original form. Or you can just watch on YouTube or Twitch video on demand. I wanted to come back into the Heretic Quists Lufenia Plus. I did a run where I just stomped through it with the Zidane Bart Quists combo. But I wanted to bring three of my favorite characters, actually my three favorite characters in Final Fantasy from my favorite Final Fantasy VIII, Quists, Squall, and Rinoa. You can see I have all their costumes, and I also have all their blue armor, and they are fully sphered. They have perfect arts. I love these three characters. I love Final Fantasy VIII. This is the team that I used in Final Fantasy VIII more than not. If I had a choice on team comps, this would be the team that I would have taken. And so had to be a little creative because despite Squall having a BT and blue armor, his damage is not Lufenia competitive, and Rinoa, her auras are not super great. A little bit of boost with her LD plus and her blue armor, but not as good as a lot of the other Lufenia plus. Remember, you're dealing with brave gain reduction and damage reduction, brave damage reduction. This fight, however, not as much as in previous fights, and also the bosses have limited HP, so I figured, okay, despite their downfall, and with Quists kind of being your primary damage dealer here, which is not good. You do not want Quists to be your primary damage dealer. I think we can get these three through them together. That's the thing. You know, any one of them you could push through, but to get them together through, it's a different story. And so I needed to bring good calls, and so I brought Kurasame, I brought Jack, and I brought Sephiroth, brave damage up, HP damage up. I did it a few times and really had to fall in on Sideraines for the end, for both the turn manipulation and just the damage. He probably did about 2 million damage to each of these eyeballs. So really needed to bring him here. So to get this team through. My plan here was to really do kind of staggered damage to mitigate the threshold, so I could tackle one threshold at a time. I misplayed a couple of my skill 2s. You'll see I get down to like 50% and it's Quists' turn, and so I kind of have to double skill 2 so I can break them and then get so they're not healing too much, because I cannot afford for them to heal more than once. They automatically heal after they break the threshold, so there's no avoiding the 700,000 HP healing. That's why they don't have a lot of HP, because they expect you to heal. But with this damage output the team is giving me, I really can't afford it, especially with orb management. So yeah, you really had to play well and be patient, and I did blow it a couple times. Thankfully, Quists has a couple extra skill 2 uses with her LDs, so I had a couple to play with. I hope you, get to use your favorites. I understand why Saga players are so sad all the time, because this is not the best way to approach the game, just running your favorites. But if your favorites are good for a long time, I use them. I use Squall for a lot of content. I use Rinoa for a lot of content. I'm going to use Quists for a lot of content, and I'll use Squall again, and I'll use Rinoa again. Hopefully she gets a BT+. I'll use Squall when he gets his BT+. I'm going to green him. And so I don't feel bad about the fact that favorites come and go, and then I have new favorites. On my list, I have about 20 favorite characters in Final Fantasy, and then some favorite games and other characters I do like. So, but 20 that I'm going to fully invest in, and those are kind of the characters I will always gun for. And that was early on to help me kind of establish a pull plan. Whereas, if I can, as a character collector, if I can focus on these 20 characters, and this was back in EX era, then I'm going to enjoy this game, because I know they're going to come, they're going to be staggered, and I'm always going to be able to have at least some favorites in play. And so that's worked really well for me. At this point, I have enough resources. I can go well beyond that 20 and be okay. But if you're struggling, if you're struggling with resources and always struggling with resources and favorites have come and gone and you've not been able to get them, make that list. Really think about it. Look ahead. Who are my favorite characters? Who am I really invested in? Who do I really want to play? And then stick to that and kind of, build around them, fill the roster around them. Pick up a meta unit here and there to really help you through some more difficult content. But, make sure that you're playing in a way that's going to help you. Now, some of you are like, I've never even played a Final Fantasy and I don't really have any favorites besides the characters that I think look good. And that's okay. You play the game the way that you want to do it. I think I have to summon here because I mismanaged the orb there. That's okay. That worked out fine. We make a few little mistakes here and there. Happy accidents, as Bob Ross would say. And they're not happy accidents if the orb bursts and you die, but usually we can work around imperfect play, especially the more powerful characters you bring, the more imperfect gameplay you can experience. If you are bringing weaker characters, older characters, if you're bringing characters that really don't fit in, either there's a situation where you won't be able to beat the fight, period, or you will have to be very careful. The harder you make the game, the more perfect your play needs to be. Does that make sense? The more limited your character choice, or the weaker the characters you bring, the more perfect your gameplay. So this is one of those examples. Yes, Quists' synergy, she is dealing with all the mechanics herself. And Squall and Renault are kind of there for the ride. They are doing a little bit of damage, thankfully. But man, they're not bringing much else to the table. Squall doesn't really have any support whatsoever for the party. Renault has limited support for the party. I mismanaged. I forgot a little bit about how her buffs play out. So really probably just should have kept Angelo recover at all times and not gone into Angel Wing. But that's okay. It all worked out. But yeah, as you approach this fight, now you can go watch my other video if you want to talk about it, or listen to the podcast. We walk through the thresholds. They start with the auras that you need to break. At 100%, you need to 3-turn delay them. Both of them, Quists Skill 2 does that. Then at 49%, they get that again. You need to 3-turn delay them. Quists Skill 2 does that to Generator Whip. And then at 29%, you also have to get the auras. Skill 2 does that. And so, yeah, really need to be able to mitigate that. If you have Quists on your team and she has at least 6 uses of the Generator Whip with her 35 and her passives and her AA, she has 6 uses. With her LD, she has 9 uses. So if you have your LD, no problem. If you have her 35, you just need to be manage it a little bit better and bring powerful characters to help her out. And your big damage dealers are going to tear through these guys. And if you're bringing a friend, yeah, you really need to manage it a little bit better. But you also need to manage the orbs, which again, Quists does. Every time she delays, she manages the orbs. Her LD and her skill 2 tick them up to full every time she does it. And then the shields. She doesn't really manage the shields so much in her damage output's not great, but she manages the shields by being able to delay through their delay immunity. And if you don't delay them and you don't break the shields, they will kill you. And so the ability to be able to, they don't really have a recast ability, I don't think. So that's kind of their big attack besides their orb attack. Yeah, so I mean, I really, obviously, I think it would be better if Quists did not take all of the orbs, all of the conditions, the 3 mechanics of the games, the shield, the healing, and the orbs. But, because she does, you really can rely heavily on her. Yeah, this burst phase is really hilarious here. I didn't really bring anybody to buff Squall up. I didn't bring Iroha. I didn't bring Sid Reigns to kind of boost his damage. Kamlanat. I brought Sephiroth to kind of boost the entire party's damage up, brave damage up. So this, and I'm being very careful here because I don't want to get in the 29%. I don't want to break through the 29% on either one of these because if I do, Quists is not next, Renault is next, and they're going to heal extra, and I'm going to cost myself the run if I really let them heal more than one turn. So you see I'm getting real close to 39%. So even though this BT phase is not a great phase, it really does accomplish what I need it to, which is to get them close enough to 29% that I can break them down into the next era. And I don't think either of them go into 29%. I'm going to pretend like I had all of this planned out, and this was really a perfect run. I really knew what I was doing, and that's not the case. So a little over 2 million, which is not terrible. I mean, let's be honest. That's for as old as a character. Squall is the first LDBT character. He did get his LD boards, so he did get an upgrade. So you'll see Quists, Renoa dropped one down, but she didn't drop the other down. Ideally, if Renoa had dropped both of them down, that would have been great. But the fact that it staggered is actually pretty good. Now my big issue here is Squall's got 2 turns, and Quists has 2 turns in between the two of them doing that. So you really have to make sure that I'm being careful with realizing that orb is down to, I'm pointing to it like you can see me point, that orb is down to 4. So really have to be paying attention to what's going on here. Neither of them are going to act, so that gives me time. But if I do not get Quists back here, that orb is going to tick down. And if I let other people bring him down below 29, he's going to heal up. So you can see that's why I brought Sid Reigns. Turn manipulation deals with that problem. And his damage, of course, 850,000. It's down from down to 19 back up to 29, but now she can degenerate her whip. The orb is back to full. And now Sid Reigns is going to do what Sid Reigns needs to do, which is do damage. And that really takes us through the rest of the fight. So again, man, I thank you for hanging out with me. I thank you for watching, if you're actually watching this and listening. I don't know that I'll continue to upload a lot of runs. If you like watching me or listening to me upload runs and talking about the fights, feel free to do that. But we do talk about the fights on the podcast every week. And we do have all kinds of great people on our Discord. We have a great help channel, and we have channels for each of these fights that just have run videos and screenshots of all the different team options. And so there's lots of different options. Of course, we have through DissidiaFFOO the TCC challenges. Our friend Macnell helps put those together, and so you can submit to the call to arms and have the TCC challenges. We might find some ways to share those moving forward as well in new and interesting ways. So maybe we'll think about that. If you are on YouTube, you can become a member. That's 99 cents, and you get some emotes and a badge. And of course, we do have super chats enabled moving forward into our streams on YouTube. So do consider checking us out if you've never watched us live because you don't have Twitch, or you just didn't realize we were live on Twitch. Check us out on YouTube. We're going to be simulcasting on YouTube and on Twitch moving forward. So you can just stay right here, and then you can see the entirety of the show earlier. If you are watching the video on demand on YouTube, remember, you can just skip ahead in the pre-show if you don't want to listen to us kind of ramble on in the pre-show. You can just skip ahead until you see the opening credits, the opening video. Shout out to our friend Dreamy for putting that together, and Ryan is the bomb for the music. Ryan is the bomb 203, and our friend Dreamy for putting that awesome video together. You need to shout them out again. I'll remind people of their good work. And our friend Hate13 did the narration for quite some time. We don't currently have narration, but yeah, and you can just skip ahead and then watch the show and go to the end. Or if you really want, you can always just go to the podcast itself on your favorite podcast app or on tccpodcast.com and just listen to the podcast itself without the pre and post show. But we try to have fun before the show and after the show, so we hope you appreciate that. And some of our technological mishaps along the way. So I hope this fight wasn't too hard for you. I don't think Quists is a must pull. She obviously made this a lot easier. I think she's a cool character. Mino disagrees and didn't really like her very much. So you can hear us talk about that on last night's show, which is episode 171, I believe. And so episode 171, which just aired on Thursday, the 21st here in the United States. Check out that. We go great into depth. We also answer a lot of questions and talk about the game and kind of look back at Lufenia Plus and say, okay, what was this transition like from Lufenia to Lufenia Plus, and how did it really impact us, and how difficult was it? So thank you, friends. Again, like, sub, ring the bell for notifications so you know when we go live, not only when we have a new video. And we'll look forward to the Squex Mobile stream. I'll have my tier list for November soon. And we'll see you next Thursday for episode 172 of the Crystal Chronicles, or sooner. Until next time, friends, good luck, goodbye.